Now that we've got some information about our particular restaurant that we're looking for, we can start to show some information about it on the screen. So to get started, I'm going to remove that console log. Now I want you to recall when our application, or when this component is first displayed, result is going to have a value of null. So if we try to refer to some different properties on it, like this restaurant's name or images or something like that, we'll get an error message. So to handle that, before we return our JSX down here, I'm going to add in a little check. I'm going to say if there is no result yet. So if result is null, then we're just going to return null from our component altogether. That essentially means do not show anything on the screen whatsoever until we actually get some kind of result. We can eventually add in some error handling to maybe show an error message instead of just null right here, but we'll take care of that later on. So now if we get past this if statement, then we are guaranteed to have an actual result, like the object we really care about. So to get started, rather than showing a text element right here with just results show, I'm going to replace it with a text of result.name. So let's save this and test once again. I'll tap, and there's my result. Very good. Okay, so now that we can show some information coming back from our result, we can now start to iterate over that list of images that we fetched. Remember, it's stored inside of that property of photos, and we can essentially display a list of all these different photos to the user. Anytime we're building a list, well, usually we're going to want to reach for the flat list element. And this is going to be another perfect use of flat list. So I'm going to import flat list at the top. So there's flat list. And now underneath our text element, I'll place my flat list. And then inside of here, we'll pass in our data, which is going to be result.photos. So that's going to be an array of strings. We'll then define our key extractor. Remember, this is going to be a function that gets called with our, not really, maybe item isn't a great term in this case. We'll call it photo. So our photo variable right here is going to be a string. It's going to be the actual URL that we need to fetch to get our image. Because that is a unique and consistent string, we can actually use the URL itself as our key. So I'll put that in as the return. Just going to return photo like so. And then finally, we can define our render item function. So remember, once again, this thing is going to be called with a first argument that has a couple of different props inside of it. The only property we really care about is the item property, which is going to be the actual photo string, or the actual URL of the photo we're trying to show. So now we need to somehow show an image to the user. To do so, I'm going to make sure that I import image from React Native at the top. And I'll go back down. Inside of render item, I will return image. I'll define its source as URI item like so. And remember, we want to have two sets of curly braces here. One set is to designate that we're going to place a JavaScript expression. The second one is saying, here's an actual object. Now remember, by default, an image doesn't really want to display itself. It's going to have 0 height, 0 width. So we probably need to add in a style to this thing. So I'll add in style coming from styles.image. And then down inside my style sheet, we'll put in our image property. And for now, I'll once again just give this thing a fixed height and width. So I'll do a height of maybe, 200 units and a width of 300. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's save this once again and see how we're doing. So I'll flip back over. I'll tap on one of the restaurants, and there's my images. Awesome. Well, that's pretty much it. That's our whole application. And there's definitely a couple of extra things we can do here to kind of spice it up a little bit more. So let's take a quick pause and maybe tackle a couple more things inside the next video.